lives. So a policeman was brutally murdered by his girlfriend on the 2nd of December 2022. In today's video, we take a look at what could have been the cause of this heinous crime. The suspect, Bongiwe Praise Magwaza. She is 23 years of age, and she was dating her boyfriend, Surgeon Hopoto Tana, 36 years of age. The couple had faced numerous issues, from infidelity to him being controlling and age difference. Bongiwe was very young. She just began her 20s, full of life. She just got a little bit of freedom from her being in her teenage years, and now she was living life the way a normal person in their early 20s would. While Surgeon Hopoto just became a sergeant in the police department, meaning he had more responsibility on his hands, as well as he had to mature a little bit more. This is a time in his life where he definitely wants to settle down, create a family, and the life that someone who is in their early 20s is living is not something that he would obviously approve due to the chapter of his life that he's living at that time. Bongiwe was a wild party animal, while Surgeon wanted to settle down and did not like the lifestyle Bongiwe was living. Now, the day the incident occurred, which is the 2nd of December 2022, they were at his house in Leomakalapa next to Windmill Park Estates in Boksburg. When they were arguing, it seems like a scuffle began. Hands were being thrown in the air, and Bongiwe claims, due to self-defense, she decided to take a pair of scissors and knife him in the chest. After she did this a couple of times, she then took his gun from his safe, because he was a policeman, and shot him on his head at point blank range. She then placed the firearm next to his body in an effort to make it seem like he had passed away by unaliving himself. Now, the argument is unknown. However, some sources claim just before he passed away, he had been complaining about Bongiwe's infidelity. Yes, Bongiwe was cheating, and it seems like it was with numerous guys. He would find out, he would confront her, she would deny, he would then have to look for evidence, and then she would basically throw a tantrum saying, but you don't give me attention, but you don't show me love, but you don't spoil me, and other people do. And she also alleged that allegedly, Surgeon was also cheating, but obviously it's not something which has been proven as yet. Surgeon's response would be his job requires him to spend a large amount of time away from his loved ones, because now he has a big responsibility, as well as his expenses in the home has increased. It is alleged that he had just recently moved to that place, which, if you heard where I was describing the location, it seems like it was more affluent. So it could be that he was most likely now paying for more things than he was paying before he became a sergeant. Now, Bongiwe didn't care. She was expecting her boyfriend with this new title to basically give her a better life. I mean, Bongiwe is in her early 20s. She is not going to think in the same way as someone who has had a bit of life experience. She also didn't come off as someone who had started working and understanding how finances work and how the real world works. Now, it is alleged from the documents and the statements that after she had committed this crime, guess where she went? She went to her lover's home, because she could not be able to sleep in that same home that her boyfriend's dead body was in. Now, unfortunately, her lying in one of her lover's bed was not going to erase what just happened, and reality kicked in the next morning when she had to face her music. She decided to go back to the home and devised a plan that it would work in her favor if she asked one of her neighbors to come along with her to the home, because she was confused as why her boyfriend was not responding to her calls. And when they came in the house, they both found the body. So she was trying to have an alibi so that when the police came there, the story that she would be saying would be the exact same story that the neighbor would be saying. When authorities finally came to the scene, she told them that her boyfriend had unalived himself. Authorities then decided to do an inquest docket, which was registered at a police station called Dawn Park, pending preliminary investigations. Now, due to the severity of this crime, blood spatter experts were called, as well as photographers to examine the scene. What are blood spatter experts? These are people whose job is to basically come to a crime scene and check the pattern of the blood. The pattern of the blood will say whether it was due to someone unaliving themselves or someone else done it. Now, how do they do this? By checking that if you had to unalive yourself, blood could only be at a certain range or at a certain pattern, whereas if someone else did it from where they are standing, blood would be in a different area in the house or where the crime occurred. And that's actually what caused them to ring alarm bells because the blood pattern was not coming like someone who had unalived themselves, as well as the fact that the boyfriend had knifing wounds on his body. Remember, Bongiwe had knifed him first. So that did not make any sense. So when they questioned her, she then came out and said, yes, I did that, but I did that due to self-defense. That meant that she had to be taken to a police station and actually do a proper statement. When she got to the police station, she was then charged with assault with the intent to do grievously bodily harm. She then emphasized that even though she had knifed him, she left him while he was alive and he decided to unalive himself. The case was not placed on the court roll on December 6, 2022, owing to insufficient evidence. A then forensic factual report came out because at that time they had all these images, they had all these experts who were coming out saying this and that, but when the body was exhumed with a proper full-on forensic factual report, it ruled out unaliving as the cause of his death due to inconsistencies discovered after the crime scene was reconstructed, and the cause of his death was now homicide. Therefore, just before Magwaza was taken out of jail due to her assault case, the police came and charged her with murder. She then appeared in the Boksburg Magistrate Court on the 7th of December 2022. The magistrate eventually granted her 1,000 Rand on bail in January 2023, following numerous appearances. Now you guys must be thinking, why such a low bail? The reason because she most likely was a first-time offender. Now someone who is a first-time offender will get a bit of leniency because they basically have to prove that they are guilty or innocent in court due to a trial, and it just shows that they're not violent, as well as just to give a fair chance, I would say. And most importantly, due to her age and her financial background, they felt like she would not be a flight risk because she did not come from an affluent home and she was quite young. So she would be forced to stay in South Africa, and that way she could be able to do her trial properly and they don't have to feel like she is a risk to leave the country. Now, unfortunately, in November 2023, she was admitted to Sterkfontein for mental evaluation. Now, this is after she started acting erratic. She started acting crazy. She started acting like someone who was mentally not okay upstairs. And this led her to be admitted in a mental institution. Now, in the courts and in prison system, they felt like now she is a risk because she's a risk to herself. If they have to take her out of the mental institution back into society, she could end up unaliving herself, and that's not something that they want, obviously, as well as they want her to be able to stand for trial and face the consequences of her actions. Now remember, she did this to a policeman, so I'm sure this case was taken with so much more precision and so much more care because she most likely hurt a whole community of policemen. So I'm not surprised that once they heard this, they took action to get her back into custody until the trial ended. Because now she's in custody, she's not going to have any equipment to unalive herself, as well as most likely whichever cell that she was in, she was actually supervised heavily. Now, sources close to her boyfriend had said that no, she was acting. She knew that the trial was coming up, and she decided that she's going to act this way so that the court can basically say that the trial is over due to her insanity. Now, other sources claim that no, she actually was really going crazy, and this is because her ex-boyfriend, who passed away due to her, had decided to haunt her. This was her karma. She couldn't be able to sleep at night because he was visiting her in dreams, and this actually resulted in her acting erratic. So there were a lot of people with mixed opinions, and in the end, unfortunately, instead of her being outside, spending her last days of freedom, she had to spend it in prison. Now, what shocked me is Bongiwe knew how much evidence the police had, number one. From the blood splatter experts, to the factual reports, to the autopsy, even her fingerprints on the gun, for example. However, she did not plead guilty because she could have actually done a plea deal most likely if she pleaded guilty. And you could really see that she was quite young because someone who was matured would have known that she would actually be properly trialed because now the person who passed away is closer to home. This is a policeman. And that is why they were taking this case with so much precision, in my opinion. Now, unfortunately, in August 2024, this year, she was found guilty and she was sentenced. Now I'm going to go through the charges that she was sentenced. The first one was 20 years imprisonment for murder. Now this is quite self-explanatory. She had taken someone else's life, so she has to face the time. Now this is obviously, besides life, the longest that someone can be given. The next sentence that she was given was 7 years in jail for unlawful possession of a firearm. Because she had utilized her boyfriend's gun and she has no license, that's actually a charge. She then had 5 years for unlawful possession of ammunition. This meant that she had no license, however, she used the gun to shoot him. That is actually against the law. You cannot use a gun if you do not have a license. The last charge that she had was 7 years for defeating the ends of justice. And this is simply because of the fact that she had left her boyfriend's deceased body in the home. When something like that occurs, you immediately have to alert the police. The fact that she went and this was only reported the next morning is actually defeating the ends of justice. Now, the unfortunate part in all of this is the South African police system is very strange. It can be seen as quite lenient because I don't think she's going to be even serving that full 20 years, especially if she goes in, she comes with good behavior or good reports, she'll come out in most likely less than 5 years. Look at Jup Jup. He killed a child and left 2 disabled. However, he came out without even serving majority of his sentence. So something really has to be done for crimes where you take another person's body, because can you imagine, you've now taken a father, most likely an uncle, a brother, a son, a grandson. This most likely was a breadwinner in the family. This could have been someone who was loved by his family and his community because he served as a sergeant, and you've taken his life short simply because of you could not be able to handle your emotions. Now, we have come to the end of today's video. Do comment down below your thoughts on today's story. Now, it is quite sad, and I would like to put a disclaimer that if you will be commenting, please be a little bit kind, because I don't know who might watch this video. It could be one of his loved one, and we don't want them seeing mean comments. As well as, I only do these videos to educate the community, especially since we're doing 16 days activism against women and children. I would like to emphasize that GBV is not only towards them, but small cases like this just shows how men can also be abused. Do come out of a toxic relationship if it's not serving you. We have come to the end of today's video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that post notification bell down below so you can be notified when I do upload. Anyway, we have come to the end of today's video. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Mwah. Bye.